still is fairly put together and not too damaged. We see a group of slingers here stopping this gold mine, and a group of slingers here, or no, a group of villagers there collecting that gold mine, and that's why Steve was forced to go all the way to the north. But it seems that Steve has held off this attack and now is gonna, or held off this position, and the Mistaa is in a very precarious situation, even though the score doesn't seem to tell it. Now we see StevenHolt almost even in population. The Mistaa does not have many villagers gathering food. Now this gold is pretty much cached there at that time, and now this barracks is being under threat, and the Mistaa is trying desperately to rally the troops he needs to destroy this force that is just knocking constantly on his front door. You see their populations almost identical as they switch back and forth. Now Steve has a slight lead, 47 villagers exactly for both players. Steve is also trying to reinforce this position with some military production facilities that will just aid in the time it takes for those reinforcements to arrive at your position. Very strong move. It takes a lot of macro in that sense. You have to remember to do it, really, is all it comes down to. In the middle of this battle, without letting up, bring some villagers up into the fray or take them off and build some buildings here. You should have a little bit surplus of wood. He still is keeping all his resources very evenly low. Not doing quite as good of a job as the Mistaa, who is able to do the same thing, but is now expanding over here to the west and has built another town center. You see all the farms he has going, but 82 population, 87 and 120 as another fully done up force for iamStevenHolt is pushing constantly on the Mistaa's front door. And what a battle we have shaping up. Is the Mistaa going to be able to come out of this with a victory? We haven't seen the Mistaa lose in quite some time. We knew StevenHolt was being a strong player, and this is just showing this Babylonian civilization their benefits and how you can manage them really well. You see a few farms are down here in a kind of a dangerous situation, but most of them are pretty secure over there, as this position has been completely secured. And now StevenHolt is pushing more and more into the base of the Mistaa, as now this population deficit is becoming almost insurmountable. And at the same time, a few villagers, 10 villagers have gone down, and Steve has added 4. So now this deficit is getting even scarier and scarier, as I don't know if the Mistaa might have expanded a little bit too fast with 3 town centers that he built, where you see StevenHolt still only has his initial town center and is just able to reinforce his population so quick. It really helps those gardens that we have been seeing the Babylonians build so many of. They are able to bring reinforcements down so fast that is just tough. Even when your opponent who is defending is at home, is trying their butt off to reinforce them, it is just becoming really difficult to do. And now it's looking to be more and more precarious, as the Mistaa is kind of sitting back trying to build up a force to be able to handle this. But these slingers still not champion, as we see Steve is still even in the second age, where the Mistaa has got to the third age. So this is a position where the Mistaa has the opportunity, if he can get enough resources together to get those third age troops, he might be able to halt this progress. And if he can halt this progress, he may have done enough damage at home where he can kind of rebuild from it. But he needs to do it quickly, because StevenHolt is not letting up in this fight, and he is keeping the pressure on. And now the Mistaa is trying to micro in these slingers, as the town center, original town center for the Mistaa, is getting dangerously low, half HP, quarter of the way HP, or only a quarter of the way HP gone, or 30% is gone. And these slingers don't do very much damage at those buildings. At the same time, we're seeing some lancers come in now, and there is this fortress, so it is going to be a position where Steve needs to we're seeing a few woad raiders come in now and try to raid the economy a bit of the Now I'm seeing I am, and it's messing with me. iamStevenHolt. He is putting on some harassment with these Woad Raiders, and hopefully for him, it will be enough where he may force Steve to bring back this force, but it doesn't seem like that's the case because Steve has enough troops back at home to deal with that now. As there you go, you see these Lancers came in and were able to deal with that. Now the front lines are sitting still in the base of the Mistaa as he is desperately trying to hold off this attack. He is gaining a little bit of ground here on the population. You see 96 to 119, and that is the benefit of him being in that third age. He has a few upgrades that Steve does not have at the moment, but at the same time, the Mistaa does not have any troops to speak of in this area, or he is actually going for a sort of a base race scenario maybe here, where he's bringing troops around to the west of the base of StevenHolt so that he can take out the economy of Steve, and which will do a number because Steve and that attack has been using so many resources on reinforcements that he is going to be forced to pull this force of slingers back to help defend his farmland and his wood line. At the same time, we're seeing a few more slingers come around the south. The Mistaa is collecting gold here on the west as StevenHolt will be able to defend this gold line, but that is how you do it, folks, when you are in a position like the Mistaa was in, and it was not looking good at all. He built up a force big enough to force StevenHolt away from that front lines. Now Steve is going to go try and put the pressure back on so he can save these archery ranges he's built this close to the base of the Mistaa. And let's see now if the Mistaa was able to defend with enough units. It still does not seem like he has enough units. He has 60 villagers, so that means 66 population is going to military, where it's almost 85 population going to military for StevenHolt. So let's see now if the Mistaa is able to do it. He's trying to bring Steve into the range of this fortress, which is a very viable strategy. Another fortress in the back there. So the Mistaa, using this group of only 14 slingers and the reinforced ones, is trying to hold off this massive group of slingers here in the middle. StevenHolt still is not able to get up that age upgrade, and we're seeing a group of spearmen making their way down here and are going to harass this position again, as the Mistaa knows Steve can't push too much further past these fortresses, especially with only slingers. And if he can keep Steve down in that second age and keeping his, you see here, he's attacking now this farmland and pushing him completely off that farmland, now forcing him to the north, and the Mistaa is pushing this group of spearmen back down to the south into the base of StevenHolt, while Steve is pushing into the base of the Mistaa. A very interesting matchup we have for you here. Steve just cannot get into that next stage. He's trying to keep this pressure on the 27-minute mark, and Steve is still in the second age with only that first main town center going against the Mistaa, who has 3 town centers up and is in the third age. But Steve is still holding this population lead, although the Mistaa is gaining some ground in this situation. We see spearmen champions are able to take down those lancers very quickly here, as now iamStevenHolt is just still with these slingers, more and more slingers. Now we're seeing a bunch of villagers, a lot of villagers come in and are going to be attacking that town center.